Good morning, everybody. Make sure we are live everywhere. We're supposed to be live. It says that we are. That's good. Well, welcome to the studio. Happy Martin Luther King Day, everybody. I know a lot of you are off school today or off work today, so might actually get some live viewers here. Looks like our stream health is pretty good. I know my audio on last week's video was kind of choppy. So I did a few things to my webcam and it seems to be working okay. I also ordered a microphone. I ordered a new little like clip-on lav mic. If this doesn't work, I'll try that next week. All right, let's go through what these kids are learning in class this week. I don't have a whole lot of example-wise like piles to show you. Last week was kind of a weird week because we had so much weather. And if you missed class, it's okay. You're not the only one. Many people did. If you missed class, it's going to be a-okay. I promise we will get you all caught up. It's just fine. We'll talk about on that. I know we've got some cold weather this week as well, and there's a chance that many of the schools might not be in session tomorrow because of cold weather temps. I just want to remind everybody that just because the school's canceled doesn't mean Orange Easel is closed. It doesn't mean you have to come. It just means that we're not going to necessarily follow school closings, and we want to make sure we can leave the option up to you guys. So we try to be open so that way we give you guys the option. And if you can't come, there are makeups available for that. Now, I'm going to talk in the housekeeping section and give you the makeup link and all of that information. Other things I need to tell you about winter weather. We do announce on Twitter because that is the easiest platform for me to get news out to people very quickly. Since it is text-based, it's an easy thing to do. We also announce on Twitter because the algorithm puts things in date order. If I put it, I don't know if you guys know this, but if I put it in our Facebook group, there's no guarantee that you see it. The default setting on a Facebook group is it's going to show you the most popular posts or the most interesting posts, whatever it deems important. And it will hide from you the like in order of when it was posted, unless you actually go and put sort by like date like posted. So just so you know, that's why we don't do Facebook. I mean, I do put it in Facebook. Don't get me wrong. Like I try to get things to Facebook. I try to get things to Instagram. I try to get things on our voicemail. I try to get an email out, like all those things. But I guarantee you I will get it on Twitter. So I highly recommend for those of you that are like, what if we don't have Twitter? I mean, it's free. You just download the app, create an account. You don't even need the app. You can just go create an account on the website, I think. They did make it so that just recently you can't view it without an account. So you do need an account in order to view the Twitter stuff, but I don't know. That's weird to me because I have high schoolers and this is how the high school communicates. All of it. All of the high school communication comes on Twitter. So it's just normal to me to communicate on Twitter. So I highly recommend looking into it, people. You know, get an account, use your kid's account, borrow a friend's account, because that's where our most important inclement weather stuff will be. If you are in a class and we are closing, we will send an email. But again, there's no guarantee the email goes to your inbox. The email could go to your spam. It could go to promotions. It could be blocked. There are changes coming to mass email systems, and like there's criteria that are happening as of February 1st that will change how my emails look when they come out to you, because I'm not just emailing you, I'm emailing a couple hundred people. So just so you know, like even email isn't guaranteed. I promise you it will be on Twitter, and that's the best place to go look. Okay. What we won't do is we won't send an email that says, hey, we're open. That's not going to happen. Although I might post something like that on Twitter. Okay. All right. If you have questions about that, let me know. I want to say, just for like a reminder, we started our month on a Thursday. And so for most of you, this is your second week of classes. Not everybody. For my Thursday people, this is your third week of classes. For my Tuesday homeschool multimedia class in Platte Woods, this will be your first week of classes because we did go ahead and cancel and consolidate your classes last week. So, so just as I go through each and every one of these, like this is what your class is learning this week, I'm going to try to say all 3 steps, the first class, the second class, and the third class on what we are doing. And so that way you can get what your kids are doing. It's not quite as clean as it usually is, where we're all doing the same thing this week. We have lots of classes in lots of different steps. We also have lots of kids in lots of different steps because of makeups. Like if you missed a class and you came to a makeup, or you missed a class and you didn't come to a makeup, we kind of got people in different situations. All right, let's talk about preschool. So my preschool classes, this is our light and dark month. We started classes for preschool last week. So this is going to be week 2's classes coming up this week. And the only ones that didn't meet this week, my Monday, Platte Woods people, you guys didn't meet today because it is Martin Luther King Day. My Tuesday Liberty people, you didn't meet last week because of weather. And because we had the ability to bump you behind. So my Tuesday people, you guys in Liberty and in Platte Woods, you guys are going to be doing Wild Things this week. So you'll be reading Where the Wild Things Are and making paper crowns and playing in the dark. We have some really great landscape and starry night lessons where we'll do black paper with chalk pastels and make our own imaginary world similar to the ones that we see in the book from our illustrator. So that'll be a fun lesson. My Thursday people and my Friday people, you guys are in week 2 of your classes. And so we'll be reading Freight Train, which is a book that explores both shapes and colors. And it also, again, kind of gives us an opportunity to look at horizons and landscapes. The kids will make their own freight train using shapes, like sponges cut into different shapes, and tempera paint, which is, I think, an awesome way to make an objective piece of art. When we talk about art, sometimes it's very abstract, and sometimes it's an object, or it has a specific subject, or it's supposed to be a picture of something. And for our young artists who are not quite capable of the fine motor skills it takes to draw, giving them shape sponges where they can just assemble, it becomes almost like a collage, is a great way to explore kind of a solid objective subject, because it doesn't require drawing skills. So we'll get to do that this week. My stations, I have this picture here. I had a note to tell you. This is my toddler group in Liberty, and they are playing with snow. So the Liberty teachers brought in some snow last week with some neon paint in the black light. So kind of all the amazing things happening at once. This is the only month that we black out the studio, you guys, for our artists. Right now, the preschool room is blacked out, the little room. But then as the month goes on, I think in the last week, we black out the big classroom when we read the book Flashlight. All right, my multimedia classes. So remember I said I wasn't going to bring the big posters because they're kind of difficult to move around in the closet. So these are 24 by 30 inch kind of poster size pictures that the kids are working on, these giant abstract paintings. Speaking of non-representational artwork, they're working on abstract art and they're exploring abstract art. The first lesson was just to get coverage on the back. So we got some cards out and we scraped paint all over the back. Then we switch colors if we want to, in the next week. So we're always going to work on analogous colors so things don't turn muddy brown unless we want them to. So you could see these artists, most of them started with like a bluey, purpley background, and then they switched to the artist on, I don't know, on the side closest to me. I can't do this, you guys. I'm not a weather person. I am so bad on green screen. The one closest to me, this artist here, she has reds and pinks, which is next to blues and purples on the color wheel and would be just fine and not going to make brown. But our artist next to her, she chose orange, and orange is across the color wheel from blue. So the reason this works, it's a complementary color, is because that blue layer on the background is dry. There's a whole week in between these two. So the second layer going on here is organic and geometric shapes. We learned what an organic shape was, we learned what geometric shape was, and we're looking at adding those into a layer onto our picture. Okay. So if you're in week 2, that's your next step. In week 3, we're looking at adding marks and texture. So this is where we add line work. This is where we add pattern work, like design work, repeating lines, repeating marks, that kind of stuff. So as we work, our brushes get smaller. So we started with a great big painting scraper. Then we moved into kind of a brush that's moderate size. And then in week 3, the brushes keep getting smaller as our marks get smaller and the details add up. Okay. My 4th and 5th in my homeschool classes are doing pet portraits or animal portraits. So their first week was simply getting their photograph from reference that they're working on. You can see some of them are working from like a Google image photo. Well, some of them have brought in pictures of their pet at their house. They had to draw it on the canvas. This is one of the few multimedia lessons that requires some drawing skills. And so we've got the drawing done, and then they are in week 2 doing what's called blocking in. And I loved this picture because it's a really great representation of what blocking in looks like. So it's the challenge of blocking in is to not get lost in the details, into getting every little detail right. What you want is you want to think big picture. You almost want to like relax your eyes and see everything really fuzzy. You're just getting the main color down. What's the main color in this section? What's the main color in this section? What's the main color in this section? And you're going to block that in. In week 3, we'll go back on top of those colors and we're going to add, okay, now in this section, where are the light parts and where are the dark parts? Where are there subtle changes in color? Where does it desaturate a bit? Where does it go a little bit more yellow than, or where does it warm up? Where does it cool down? Where does it get darker? Where does it get lighter? And we're looking for those small discrepancies inside each of the kind of flat color blocks that we put in. And then also in week 3, we're going to begin using kind of the proper texture marks, right? When we're painting something fuzzy like a fox, in the blocking in stage, it doesn't matter. We're just getting blocks of color down. But in the 2nd and 3rd, or in the 3rd and 4th kind of days or weeks, we're looking at like, okay, this is fur. So what does fur look like? It's not this way, nice and flat, big, broad strokes, right? It's small strokes. It's, wispy brushes. It goes the direction of the hair, that kind of stuff. So that we got a lot of work coming out, cut out, lots of color mixing that has to happen. And I love this kind of attention to a reference photo because being able to look at a picture and then replicate it is a great skill to have, because then when we have an idea in our brain, we can replicate it as well. My 6th, 7th, and my 8th through 12th, they're doing disco balls. So I did bring a disco ball picture because I couldn't find a good photograph to show you. So I grabbed some out of the closet to show you what was going on here. So these are, in week 1, we gridded it out and we got the first coat of paint down. And the goal was, when we got that first coat of paint down, that there was a light area and dark areas, kind of was to establish it as a sphere. And now in subsequent weeks, weeks 2 and 3 and 4, most of their job is going to be painting chiclets. That's what I call them. They're little itty bitty little mirror squares, right? They're tiles that are on the disco ball. And you can see, like, in the initial coat of paint, that kind of that underpainting, we can still see the Sharpie lines through it. And that was the goal. We wanted to still be able to see them. So it was a really sheer coat of paint that we were getting on top of these. I made sure I chose disco balls that were not green, so they would show up on my video. There were some great green ones back there too, but I couldn't use them. So you can see they're starting to get all of their little tiles in. I hope you can notice that these tiles are not all the same color, right? There's some that are a little lighter, some that are a little darker, some that are a little yellower, some that are a little oranger, right? There's subtle changes in the mirrors. So this will be this is a lot of painting. It's a lot of color mixing that has to happen. And this will be pretty much what they'll do for the next 2 weeks. In that kind of 3rd week or 4th week of class, they'll also go in and repaint some of these lines, so that the grid lines in between the brightest ones will be a darker, not black, but a darker hue. And then when they get to kind of here's a great example. This is the darker area of their disco ball down here. So the tiles will be darker, but the lines in between it will be lighter. but they got disco balls to paint. Lots of attention and focus. All right, my creative explorations. So they had class for the first time last week, and so this is their first time exploring all of the different stations. I had some really great pictures from Miss Grace and Miss Liz in Friday's class, and so I thought I'd share you this one. One of the most popular stations for our kids this week in Liberty was the shadow tracing. So they really enjoyed these. I think they're actually supposed to be like to display photographs. Like if you had a wedding and you wanted to put photos on the table, like as a centerpiece. So there's like these weighted bases and then a wire stick and a clip. But we use it to clip on paper shapes. And then that way it shows kind of an interesting shadow to trace. So you can see we've got different shapes clipped up there. There's a house and an ice cream cone and a star. And then the artist can trace around those shadows. So we'll continue the creative stations. I know that was a really popular one. We also had an area set up just with the acrylic paint. So that same non-washable paint that the multimedia classes are using. And we had small pieces of mixed media paper for them to just design their own composition and make their own little mini paintings. My Drawing 101 class, this was one of my favorite pictures from Drawing 101. I don't know if you can tell what's going on. So on the table, there is a whole bunch of winter weather gear. I raided my closet. Miss Grace, it looks like, has a pair of boots that she threw in there. There's scarves and hats and gloves and like ear warmers and different things. And this is this pile O winter gear. So this is Drawing 101 for week 2. They did the winter still life. So I believe this is just the Thursday class. I'm going to double check. Yes. So Monday and Tuesday's classes will do that this week. For Monday and Tuesday, Drawing 101 classes will be doing this lesson this week. We used oil pastels to do this still life. So if you remember, we draw in this class from observation, from photograph, from life, and then also from our imagination. So in a still life versus like what we did in week 1, right? Where we had all those kitchen utensils and we were like, draw this whisk, and you could like take it and hold it and manipulate it, draw it, and then put it back and then grab another one. That's still drawing from observation, but it's more illustrative rather than a still life. So this still life doesn't move. The artist can move. You can move around it if you want to have a different viewpoint, but you're going to draw it as is. You're not going to pick things up and move them. And you only draw what you see. So if on the back side of this pile of stuff, there's a stocking cap with a Chiefs logo on it, and you really want to draw it, but if you're sitting on this side, you don't get to draw it, then you have to move. Because you don't get to draw it just because you know it's there. You have to draw what you actually see. So what this, actually in this picture that, I don't know which teacher took it, the kids are doing is they're cropping out their view, and they're showing us a viewpoint. So this is the ability to use a viewfinder, and they make actual viewfinders, but of course you always have one with you. You have your hands that you can use as well. And they're cropping and looking at what they see and kind of getting rid of all the noise on the outside. Does that make sense? So this is what a still life is. The first time we've drawn a still life in this class in this semester. So we kind of go back to the beginning. First rule of still life, don't touch the still life, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of texture. There's a lot of color in this one. You know, how do you represent something that is fuzzy? How do you represent something that is smooth? How do you represent something that is shiny? How do you represent something that is fluffy? You know, what mark do you use? So all of that stuff is questions that we can ask our kids when we're drawing this type of still life. The fact that we're using color is also really fun. So they're using oil pastels to draw this. Which again, it's the first time we used oil pastels with this class. So they got a lesson in layering oil pastels and blending oil pastels. Our arrival activity for this week was using baby oil to smooth out your oil pastels. So once you've put them on the paper, you can actually use a paintbrush or a Q-tip and baby oil and kind of, it breaks down the pastel and turns it into kind of a smooth, buttery paint. So that's a fun technique. So they did a little bit of that. So this is the Thursday class because they're a week ahead. Monday and Tuesdays 101 classes will do this project this week or this lesson this week. My Thursday 101s are going to draw from photograph. And so we're going to see some pictures that the 102s did. Maybe? Nope, I didn't put it in here. Never mind. You'll have to go to social media for that. Because we've got winter landscape photographs. They're all taken at sunset or sunrise. So the sky is a beautiful color, which reflects into the snow, which makes the snow colored. So we've got pink snow and purple snow and blue snow. But it's a landscape photograph in the winter time with lots of great color. And so the kids will choose their landscape photograph and then work to draw that photograph in chalk pastels. So a lot of great colors. Again, foreground, background, background is what we're looking for, as well as just the awareness that snow isn't really white visually. All right, 102. Speaking of 102, so last week our 102 Advanced Realistic class, they drew landscapes from photograph with chalk pastels, just like what our 101s are going to do. So they did that last week. This week they're going to do the winter gear still life. So 102 Advanced Realistic, everything we just talked about right here, that's what they're doing. The only difference is they are doing it in graphite. So they don't get color, which actually makes it harder because you have to distinguish between that pile of stuff in some other way than just color. You got to use grayscale. You got to use texture. You got to use, mark making, all of that kind of stuff. So, so they'll do theirs in pencil, and but the same rules apply for a still life. My drawing 102 comic and cartoon classes, they did if you were a Monday, Tuesday class, you did a line weight. My Thursday people, you guys did this value scale lesson. Remember, this is kind of our technical one. So this artist here is drawing a value scale, a gray scale in ink, using 3 different techniques. Stippling, which are like dots, scrumbling, which is a kind of a loose scribble or a tight scribble, and cross-hatching, which is the more like technical lines. And so you can go just one direction or you can go both directions. So it weaves like this. And the closer your lines are together, the darker the shadow, and the further apart, the lighter the shadow. So we learn how to do a grayscale in ink using those 3 techniques, and we practice those. My Monday and Tuesday classes, this is what you're doing this week. My Thursday classes will move on into week 3's lesson, and that is an exploration of different ways to apply color to your drawings. And so we'll look at different medias that you can use. So we'll look at everything from alcohol markers to alcohol inks to acrylic inks to colored pencils, and just talk about color in general and different ways to apply color and practice that color. I think coloring isn't hard, but it is. Drawing 103 classes. So I did bring an example of the Advanced Realistic project. So we're going to look at that. The comic project, you guys are doing a 3-panel artwork that illustrates both word art and character, and they should go together. So we're looking for a word that is either an action or a feeling, and then a character that represents that. Each panel is a different word. My 103 Advanced Realistic, their first week, which was last week, they did their composition work. So this is a light bulb composition, and we have a whole bunch of different light bulbs. Each artist had time to set their light bulbs up into a composition that they thought was interesting and photograph it. Then we will work from photograph. They practiced using white pastels or white charcoal on black paper to create values. And they sketched out their composition on their black paper. Okay. Now it's just a matter of finishing the drawing. So on this black paper, they will now use the white charcoal, and also they might go in with some compressed charcoal or charcoal pencil to add the super darks to create our light bulb composition there. And there's like, I don't know, there's a bunch of these back in the closet, but I just grabbed one just to show you kind of what people were working on. Let me put that back together so I don't lose those. So that's our 103 drawing classes. All right, a couple housekeeping things, and then I will let you guys go. Okay, just a reminder, we don't close when the schools close. We make our own decisions and we do our very, very best to be open. So that way you have the option of coming to class. If you can't come to class, it's okay. Don't apologize to me. Don't feel bad. Like none of that. We just want to be open so that you have an option. That's what makeups are for. If we have to cancel, it's going to go on Twitter, and then we will send an email out to the affected families. So make sure that it only goes to people that like are registered, and it only goes to the email of the account that you used when you registered. So check Twitter. Makeup policy. If for any reason you miss a class, it doesn't have to be weather, it could be sickness, it could be you're out of town, it could be that you forgot, it doesn't matter. If you miss a class, there are makeups available. You can find it on the website under for current students. The best place to go is all the way to the bottom, and it's in the footer. It's just a quick link. So you can click from it there and then make a reservation. We do ask that you give us like 3 or 4 hours notice. I think the paper actually says 4 hours notice. And that's because we get here to start setting up only about an hour before makeup start. But I check it all day long, because if there's going to be a whole bunch of people here, then I will staff up, right? So we would really like 4 hours notice so that we know if we need more people to come in and help with the makeups. Okay. And then the last thing to note, summer camps and classes are on the website as of this morning, so you can go check those out. Hopefully there's no typos. Actually, there probably are. There usually are. I try though. I try really hard. But all of those are live and on the website, so you can go take a look at those and see what we have planned. There's 8 weeks. We had 7 last year, and this year we went back to 8. We also changed it. So one of the other changes we made, usually we would take a week off in August. Usually we go like 2 in June, 3 in July, a week off, and then 3 in August. And this time we took that week off that we normally, and we put a camp week there, and then we end our summer a little early. So it might look a little bit different. I really think that last week of July, first week of August is going to be, it's like I said, it's usually a week that we take off as a prep week. I think it's going to be a really popular camp week for us. So I'm excited for that. There's, I think, 3 new camps in there. There's 4 repeaters, and then 1 that's been like revised. Even the repeats have new projects. So even though you're like, oh, I've been to Glitterfest. Oh, I've been to Botanicals. Oh, I've been to, like, I promise there's new projects. Not all new projects, but some of them are new, because some of them we really, really liked. We're like, we're doing that one again. Trying to think if there's anything else. There's a story time art classes are listed. There's 7 weeks of those. So because that week that we would normally take off, I did not put a story time in, because we're going to take a long weekend that weekend instead, so that we can get prepped up. And then the last thing is, oh, there's distracted. There are teen nights as well. So last year we did teen nights just in Liberty, and they were like a 2-night Monday, Tuesday workshop. We switched it, trying something new, because we're always trying something new. And we're going to do Friday nights at both studios as teen nights. And it's just a one-time thing. So it's 3 hours on Friday night, and it's a different project each time. I'm excited for some of the projects. There's a digital and watercolor one where you can bring a device, and we're going to use both watercolor and digital art together. There's a reverse tie-dye where you can bring something black, and we're going to bleach it and then dye it. There's a polymer clay one where we're going to make polymer clay jewelry pendants using like a marbling or caning technique, and then UV resin. So there's a felting one. So some of the things we can't do with the young kids, we're going to do with the teens. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday here today, you guys, and stay warm out there. I'll see you in the studio this week.